So let's go to Alicia in Spearfish, South Dakota. Hey, Alicia, what's up?
Hey, Dr. John, how are you?
I'm almost in a diabetic coma after how many Thin Mints I've eaten today, but I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. A little nervous, but super excited to be talking to you today.
Hey, listen, 100% chance you're better at this than I am. So you have nothing to be nervous about. I'm nervous. So how can I help? What's up?
Yeah, okay. So I have been married for 10 years. And in 2019, my husband came forward and admitted to a sexual addiction that had been going on our entire relationship. And through a lot of intensive therapy and just a lot of other counseling, we have an amazing marriage right now. We just, he's my best friend and my safe person, and we've done a lot of hard work to get there. But right now, we are thinking about getting our story out there more publicly, like through our church, and all of our close friends and family know. But we feel like we should tell our children before this gets out. We live in a fairly small community, and we would hate for them to find out by someone else.
Absolutely.
And so when and how is the best way to go about telling them our story?
Sounds like this is a remarkable story of bravery and honesty and redemptions. That's you, Alicia, are incredible. So walk me all the way to the beginning here. So y'all dated for a while, I'm assuming, and then you were married for 10 years. I hear a lot of the phrase sexual addiction, and it usually isn't, but sometimes it is. When you say sexual addiction, walk me through, what was your husband experiencing? Or what was he doing?
Sure. Yeah. It started out with pornography and then strip clubs, then shady massage parlors, and then up to prostitution.
Okay. And was this interfering with your finances? He was sneaking around. I mean, this became a way of life.
Yes, I had no clue. And yeah, he spent a fair amount of money on it. I did not notice it, just because in the realm of our income, it didn't make a huge dent, but a few $1,000s worth between that 10-year, well, probably 5-year span, I would say.
So walk me through, he sits down and unpacks this for you. Tell me about that day.
He came forward to me saying that he was struggling with a pornography addiction. And again, I was blindsided. I was really hurt by that. And after a few days of processing, I had a few questions about that. And I had about, I don't know, probably 10 questions to ask him regarding the pornography. And then at the end, I said, I know this is a ridiculous question, but I have to know, have you ever cheated on me? And I mean, we were watching The Office. It was a Friday night, and I was not expecting the answer that I got. And
wow. What a moment to ask a shapeshifter question, right?
Yes. Like I said, I was not expecting, I was expecting to be reassured. And it just all came crashing down. And unfortunately, my oldest daughter at the time heard me freaking out, and my husband tried to calm her down and send her back down to her room to go to bed. But it was, our pastor came over, and one of my best friends came over to help be with us in that moment. But yeah, it was very traumatic.
That's a traumatizing time, yeah. And so what has happened over the last couple of years to help heal you, your marriage? I mean, 10 years of of dishonesty and betrayal is a long time. What has happened in the last 2 years to have you speaking so highly of him?
Well, he had been pretty emotionally disconnected our whole marriage, which makes sense now. But so when he told me this, I was ready to file for divorce, and I couldn't get an attorney to call me back, so I agreed to go to counseling with him because he really wanted to make it work. And so, yes, did like a few weeks of intensive therapy in a different state. And he never once blamed me. He took full and complete ownership. And I just saw so many tears from him. And he let me yell and scream. And he just would say, I know you deserve so much better. And he just put a lot of things in place. He's been in several accountability groups, and he actually set up consequences for himself when he would, if he were to even say a white lie, he would sleep on the floor at night or drink a cup of pureed broccoli because that was something he wanted to fix in himself. So he was very determined to sober up, and the way he's been with our children has just been incredible.
So can I ask you a deeply personal question?
Sure.
And you may have heard me talk about this on this show. One of the most common things I hear from folks who are in a relationship where there's cheating is that the rage and the anger and the mistrust and all that. But deeper than that, more painful than that, or more, maybe not more painful, but more disorienting than that, is that I shared a bed with a guy for 10 years and I missed it. I didn't know. And I'm crazy. I feel crazy. How in the world do you miss your husband with prostitutes and with, massage parlor trips? And how did I miss thousands of dollars, right? And you start backtracking it. It's almost like watching Fight Club for the first time and you realize, oh, I missed the whole movie, all right? Or The Sixth Sense or something, right? So how did you feel? Or are you good? If you are, you need to bottle that up and sell it because that's incredible.
Well, I still struggle with that whenever I get a little uncomfortable with a situation. If he has to go out of town overnight somewhere, I do still struggle with that, but it gets so much easier as more trust is built.
Okay, there you go.
And he's just been very open and honest with, whatever I need to look at, he's willing to give it to me.
Awesome. So he's doing his best to live a transparent life, which lets you breathe a little bit, right?
Yes.
It's awesome. All right, so how old are your kids?
I have a 7, 4, and 9-month-old.
Okay. So tell me about this decision to be public with this story. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah. My eyes have just been open to how big of a problem this is. And I've had friendships who have had struggling marriages with husbands who have gone outside the marriage. And I just want to be able to provide a sense of hope that it can work out if you put in the work for it.
Sure. So my rule of thumb, and this is going to be different. And again, I'm not basing this on any research that I've read. So I want to be clear. This is coming just from me. My rule of thumb is however long a thing went on, is how long you wait until you start telling that story publicly. And here's a couple things to think through. Generally it's with folks who struggle with drug abuse or folks who struggle with financial issues, that the moment they get clean for any period of time, they want to go tell everybody about it. And what I've seen over and over and over again, and this isn't your story, so don't hear me talk about it into your story, and I'll give you some context for, I think, for your situation specifically, is you can end up taking people with you the second time. If you have a relapse, if something goes wrong, if something gets off the tracks. And I want to see people be whole and well before they start. So for me, I was buried with anxiety. I was buried with nonsense. I didn't treat people right. And it was a decade ago. And now I'm talking about it publicly. Now I'm writing books about it. Now I'm speaking about it because I've got a decade's worth of healing underneath me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And when the attacks come, when people write me and say you're full of crap, you misinterpreted this research, I think what you're saying is nonsense. And I've had some prominent people in the country really challenge me on some stuff. We got toe-to-toe and on some hard stuff, right? And I've had equal support too. So it's not like it's just raining. But if I hadn't had this long of healing, if I wasn't this secure in what I think and what I know, and I didn't spend this much time in the research and the literature, all that, those things would decimate me and inadvertently send me right back to where I was. Now, it may not be a sexual addiction, like in your case, but addiction will find its way out in other places. It may even be, and this is going to sound crazy, addiction to transparency. Anything that I'm holding on to as a crutch to get through a hard season or a boring season or a tiring season ends up being an addiction. That doesn't mean you guys wait 10 years, okay? Here's what I think you guys can do. We regularly, my wife and I, almost, sometimes every week. This past weekend, had a couple from out of state working on some stuff, working through some stuff, came and stayed with us, thinking through some things. That happens all the time. And the work that my wife especially, she's just so gifted at it, but that we do behind closed doors with people that nobody ever knows, that ends up being legacy shifting or shape shifting. And it's not that we're doing all the work, but we're providing a space and some encouragement and some wisdom and some walk alongside. Yep, did that too, been there too. That it doesn't need to be spoken publicly. If you are a resource and a caring person, caring couple in that way, man, you will find yourself inundated with people who want to talk to you behind closed doors. How your friend showed up for you in the middle of the night, you could do that for 10 years and no one would ever know on Instagram that you're doing this, and you are saving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of marriages just by your presence, just by your willingness to speak. And eventually that becomes, hey, I'd like you to come talk to my group. Like whatever, I went and spoke to a Celebrate Recovery group. I'm going to go talk to a church group. Whatever that is. Hey, would you come talk to our group? Or at work, hey, we'd love for you to talk about this. But there's a way to lean into this without, I wish I had another way to say it, without getting famous for it. Okay?
Yeah.
It's so easy to jump from the crazy story to we should write a book. Here's a simple example in my house. My son, when he was born, my wife was she was a nationally recognized researcher when it came to child literacy, teaching teachers how to teach kids how to read. She was a savant. And then my little boy comes along, and I have a PhD in higher education. I've spent a lot of time in student development and childhood development. That's just what I did. That's what she did. Our son was incredible. Temperament-wise, attitude-wise, he just was a great, easy kid. He was really articulate. He could speak well. He could read at a young age. And there came a moment when he was, 4 or 5. I'll never forget the arrogance. What a moron I was. And I looked at my wife and said, I think every other parent is an idiot. This isn't hard if you are incredible and brilliant like the two of us. And she probably rolled her eyes, but I didn't pay attention because I was too arrogant back then. And I said, we need to quit our jobs and go down the road and write a book about how to be a great parents. And then we had my daughter. Same parents, same geniuses, just a totally different human. And my daughter's incredible, and she is a human hurricane in all the best ways. We have no business writing books on this right now, right? And so I tell you that to tell you this. I would slow down. You're talking the healing here is 3 years, 2 years in a little bit of time. For a decade or 12 or 15 years of betrayal, that's still relatively raw. When it comes to talking with your kids, 7, 4, and obviously not the 9-month-old, 7 and 4, that's real young to sit down and say, hey, mommy and daddy are going to go talk about all the stuff we did or the stuff that happened to us and what daddy did. And maybe your 7-year-old could have a context there, but it would have to be very high level, very age appropriate. No 7-year-old is going to understand massage parlors or prostitutes, or they would understand daddy made some really big mistakes and it hurt mommy a lot. And now daddy's changed and he has really grown hard and mommy has forgiven him. And when y'all have that conversation, you're holding hands, you're seeing each other, you're smiling. And because as soon as you talk about that fracture, that kid's body is going to go into fight or flight. Oh no. Right? And
sure,
so I'd be very, very careful and very slow, age appropriate, introducing that stuff. What happens a lot in this situation is parents want to absolve themselves of what they're carrying around, and the kids are not strong enough to carry it. So don't tell them because you feel like, we just got to be honest with everybody, bro. Like they can't handle it. It's too heavy, right? As they get older and they have high school kids, now you're talking, you can sit down and have some harder conversations. Maybe even middle school again, but we're talking very age appropriate. When I would actually sit down and say, hey, son or daughter, I got to talk to you about some stuff I did before you were born. You're talking junior, senior in high school, maybe even later, maybe in college. Like, I got some stories I got to tell you. Here's what kind of jerk I was, and here's how sick I was for a season. That makes sense. I feel like I'm bursting your bubble here, and I know you guys have a heart of gold and want to help other people. What I really want is I want y'all to be wise, and I care way more about your marriage right now and your 3 little ones than I do a story or a book that can be written. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. I totally respect that. And I guess it's more about when to tell the kids, because I'm afraid if we wait until they're in high school or college age, are they going to be really mad that we kept this from them?
No,
feel even more betrayed?
No, what does it gain them? If you lie to them, yes. If one of them ever asks you in middle school, when they get cheated on the first time, you don't even know what this is like. This never happened to you, has it? And then you can say, oh, honey, I got a story to tell you. Right? If you lie to your kids, that's where resentment comes from. Choosing not to burden your kids with 10 years of infidelity and 10 years of prostitutes and massage parlors, that's big time. When your husband and you sit down to have the talk about pornography, which I've had both of my kids now, 6 and 12, right? When y'all have that conversation, you could talk about, hey, there's some hard things. But there's stuff I'm not talking to my son about yet. And I'm real open with him. He's not there yet. And so one day we'll get there. One day we'll have some harder conversations or some deeper conversations. I'll tell him about some of our friends that he knows and loves, some of our community members and family members that he knows and loves. But right now I'm more focused on telling him the truth than I am lying to him. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. In a radically honest house like you have now, don't hand your kids bricks of truth that they're not strong enough to carry yet.
Okay.
Is that fair?
I can definitely do that. I don't want to burden them with that if it's not going to help them.
Can I tell you this?
Yeah.
You're a great mom.
Thank you.
No, you gave me the which is your way of dismissing things. You're a great mom. You're a great mom. And there's a season of doubt that's still here. That's normal. It will take years to heal. And you're not crazy. And this guy won the lottery with you. Absolutely won the lottery. And outside of the challenges of infidelity, the way you talk about him sounds like you won the lottery with him too. And
I definitely did.
so y'all are going to continue to grow and heal together, and you're going to create something masterful that will bless a bunch of people. I want to see you bless people behind closed doors for a season, quietly, through relationship, over a kitchen table with meals. Nobody ever knows, in and out. And get good at that. Get honest with that. Continue your healing journey with yourself and with your husband. And man, then the book will come one day. The big story and the big reveal, that will happen one day. I would just let that play itself out a little bit longer.